Here I am, self-grooming, live on Facebook. That's something, boy. I tell you what. Guys, do you want to jump on here real quick? Please tell me in the comments if, my hands they tend to get ashy. So I have to use a bit of Nivea so that my hands are on that ashy. Because on Facebook, you guys notice everything. On Facebook, you go, oh, your hands are ashy. Well, what's going on with your hands? So I have to use a bit of Nivea. Hey, Stacy B, I see you. Guys, say hello to my friend, Stacy Philippi Beamer. Wonderful. She's from TikTok, and she's so supportive. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. We're going to be talking a little bit about a couple of things that I think are important. And Stacy has already said to me that it's loud and clear, and I'm very happy to hear that. I have to tell you guys, I went to bed last night with a bit of the flu. And I'm recovering. My wife gave me this, what do you call it? Cold drill? Is that what it is? So I took a pill this morning while eating breakfast, and then I had one again over lunch. And I asked my wife, I said, does this make me drowsy? She said, no, it doesn't. But I have to tell you, I have a little thing that I do here at the office. I know not everybody does it, but I do. At about 11 o'clock, every day I do this. About 11, 11:15, 11:20, somewhere there. Right before midday, I take a power nap. I take about a 15-minute nap. And it helps me. It helps me sort of trudge through the day. Does anybody else do that? Tell me in the comments if you do that. If at some point, sometime during the day, do you take a nap? For me, it charges my battery, my inner battery. It sort of centers me. All righty, a few shout outs to you guys. Let me read a couple of your comments. See what you guys are trying to tell me. It's a beautiful Tuesday evening. It's 18. I know I'm late. I know it. And guys, just so you know, I'm not proud of that. Okay, can we be clear that this is not something that makes me gloat. I don't show up and turn on the camera and say, hey guys, I'm late. Yay me. No. Deep in my heart, it crushes me that I'm late. Because I know some of you are sticklers for time. Are you familiar with that phraseology? Sticklers for time. That's an Americanism, Anyway. How's the broadcast? Are we good with is the broadcast clear? Because sometimes these broadcasts, I'm using MTN on my phone. I try and avoid using the Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi is not always perfect, So here it is. I'm trying to suss it out. I'm trying to check it out, boy. Let me say a few shout outs. Tina Makiko. Hello. Watching you from South Africa. I do take a nap midday after prayer. Good for you. Stacy B says, great. I work from home. Wallo works from home. It means we stick to time. You ain't lying. Tell you what. Right, guys, let's get into it. Do me a favor, guys, if you don't mind. Please share this live if you can. Sorry. I think that's not right to wipe your nose live on Facebook. But it is what it is, okay? Please share this live and see if we can get a few people that are interested in this sort of conversation to talk about this. The first thing I'd like to talk about is, as you know, the very brand new second term 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, literally hit the ground running. I mean, he didn't waste any time. There's certain people like that. There are people that hit the ground running. They do everything with a sense of urgency. It has to be done now, not tomorrow, not after breakfast, now. Well, Donald Trump, one of Donald Trump's sweeping new moves is to get rid of illegal immigrants. And there is an exercise, a massive deportation exercise that's going on in the States. That is quite unprecedented. I've never heard of it this way. Now, I have to share with you because, I've had an experience with deportation, as many of you know, and I must tell you that this is something, it's strange that I can sit here and talk about it now, but I'm telling you, when I was younger, this was such a shameful thing for me. And I used to sometimes I used to stay up at night worried that somebody would find out that this happened to me and that they would change their perception of me. And I was so worried as a young person. Many of you know the story. My visa ran out in the States, and I just took it for granted that everything was fine. And it was discovered that my visa had run out, and so the authorities sent me back home. And it was very painful because I remember thinking my father would be so disappointed once I get home. And but parents being who they are, both my parents, they were disappointed, but they were just glad I was home. And it wasn't a very nice experience, I must tell you. So I want to share with you what happens when you're being deported from the United States. First thing they do is that they take you once they determine that you're not there legally. Okay, at least this is what happened to me, because I overstayed. In fact, there was a time I wanted to live in America. I entertained the idea of starting a family there, starting a home there, and but my documents were not in order. And this is the thing I tell young people all the time: make sure you pay attention to your status, because if you take it for granted and you think that the world is sunshine and rainbows and everybody understands and all you have to do is explain your way out of it, it doesn't work that way. American authorities, especially now, when you are wanting and your documents are less than, they will take you to task. So to avoid that, you make sure that your status is updated and you pay particular attention to that now. It's very, very important. So what they do is that in the process of sending you home, they first of all take you to a holding. They don't deport you immediately. You're on a list, okay? So sometimes they'll hold you at a correctional facility for PIs, prohibited immigrants, okay? And again, it depends on who you are, what you did, how long you've been there. Some people get caught in a crime and then they're discovered to be illegal aliens. Others, they're just found out that, look, your status, you're not supposed to be here in the States, your document has run out, they hand you over to the authorities, and they start the process of sending you back. So once they put you at a holding cell, not a cell, a holding facility for prohibited immigrants, then you're put on a list. And in a couple of weeks, sometimes it varies. Sometimes it takes a couple of weeks, sometimes it takes a couple of months. But once it's time for you to leave, for example, in my case, I was there a couple of weeks and they came and got me. Two white American officers, a male and female. They came and they said, okay, it's time for you to go back home. They take you to the airport. They literally escort you to, for example, for me, I was flying from Louisiana to New York City. They flew with me all the way to New York City. And, while you're flying with them, they're sitting with you and, you talk, you exchange pleasantries, you find out who they are, their families, they talk to you about, what you did wrong and how to better your situation. And then, they were very comforting. They said, look, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you can't come back to the States. It just simply means that you have to make sure that your status is up to date. So we flew all the way to New York City. And it was only at the New York City, LaGuardia Airport. LaGuardia. If you know New York, you know LaGuardia. And it was from that point on that they release you. So from New York to London to Zambia, you're on your own. But anything within the United States, you are with officers. Because they want to make sure that you leave. So this is the reason I find it strange that Colombian authorities refused the American aircrafts that were carrying illegal immigrants. And the Colombians said, no, we're going to send our own planes. That's not how it works. Deportation does not work like that. Deportation does not allow a country to say, well, we're going to send our own planes so that you can put our people on our planes. No, it's the host country that does that. And it's a huge expense because effectively the authorities are buying your ticket home. Of course, it's a one-way ticket, but it's a ticket nonetheless. They send you home. So that's what happened to me. And when I landed in Zambia, because they give you documents, so you have to give those documents to the Zambian authorities, and they look through them, and then they just let you go. But I remember leaving the airport, Lusaka International Airport, because my parents didn't know I was coming back, and I was so anxious and so worried about what my parents would think. And so I got a taxi cab from the airport to my family home. This was many years ago. This was, I don't know, what was it, 35 years ago? Somewhere there? 25 years ago, 35 years ago. It's a long time ago. And, but I remember when my mom first saw me, she was just so happy. And yet the whole time I was worried that she would be upset with me once I told her. But she wasn't, she just embraced me. She said, look, I'm sorry it happened to you, but we love you and we're glad you're home. My dad did the same thing. As soon as my dad saw me, he just hugged me and said, look, I'm disappointed, but I'm just glad you're here and you're safe. I in my wildest dreams, I would have never imagined them saying that to me. I just imagined them being upset with me and angry, but it wasn't that way. And for years, I was ashamed. I was very ashamed of that. And I remember thinking, I can't tell people this. It was like this dark secret that I kept until, when I became a social media personality, somebody peeped that on social media. Somebody said, this guy, Simon, I think was deported. And I remember making the decision to come out and just say, you know what, I need to go on social media and tell my audience what happened because I don't want them to get the wrong idea. So I confess that. It was a very emotional video for me because for years I wanted to hide that. But then here's the thing. You know what I find amazing? And I guess this comes with maturity. I'm 55 years old now. I was in my 20s then. Of course, when you're younger, you're not as mature. The Apostle Paul said, when I was young, I did youthful, childish things. But now that I'm older, I'm wiser. What I find interesting is that in retrospect, it wasn't a huge deal. It was I was a captive of my own fear. There was nothing really to worry about. I was just making a huge, big thing out of something that was, largely insignificant. That's an oxymoron. But yeah, so I'm sharing that with you just to tell you that that happened, and I remember sharing it with my family, my kids, my wife, my family when I got married, and life goes on. Life goes on. It does. Of course, I have very fond memories of America. I love America. I can go back. I didn't have. There wasn't like a lifetime ban. I can go back anytime I want, but I really don't have a reason to go back. Maybe one day I will, but I love that country. I loved every day of it when I was there. But here it is. Trump is doing what a lot of countries wish they could do, Because if you've got an influx of illegal immigrants flooding your borders, you got to do something about it. And now, of course, I think that this move has its downside. I was listening to a farmer from South Dakota, and he was saying that, look, if we get rid of the undocumented immigrants, my farm is going to shut down because the vast majority of my workers are undocumented immigrants. And if you get rid of even just 50% of my workforce, it means my production just literally halts. It stops. So those are the things that they have to grapple with. And I think America will figure it out. You know, I don't believe in open borders. I don't believe that a country should just let everybody in. You know, here in Zambia, our borders are very porous. We have a big problem with Somalis and Ethiopians pouring into the country, and undocumented Rwandese that are coming into the country. And these are things that down the road become a huge problem. If your borders are porous and you allow everything and anything to come in, eventually you pay for it as a country. You do. So it's a dicey situation. It really is. But I think America will navigate it. I think they will, and we'll see how that goes. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is Yomaps' case. You know, some of you know that Kiddist and Yomaps, Elton Mlenga, aka Yomaps, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, him and his wife have sued a guy by the name of, what's his name? Elias Musiani. You guys know this guy? He's a social media guy. Well, they sued this guy because he wrote on his Facebook page, among many other things, he wrote that he was going to rape Kiddist and harm Kiddist's child. And then he had a phone call, a taped conversation with Kiddist and Yomaps where he was threatening them, and he called their child a very horrible name. And so Kiddist and Yomaps decided to sue this guy. The moment they sued him, this guy's parents or his mother, his family, started pleading with Kiddist and Yomaps. No, Facebook chabe. Kiddist Yomaps said, no, man, we're going to take this to the very end, which is the right thing to do. Because when you have people like Elias who feel that they can wield this sword of slander in any way that they want, they have to pay for it. And it's a cautionary tale for all of us. It's a cautionary tale for every vlogger, for every creator, for every content creator, because we have a framework. There is a digital framework in Zambia now that guides us, that says to us, you and I, if you cross the line and someone decides to sue, and there's evidence to that effect, honey, they're going to throw you underneath the bus. I mean, it happened to Chela Tukuta. Chela Tukuta came on social media and called a former minister a call girl, a prostitute. She took it upon herself to sue him. She took it to the zenith. She didn't let up. She didn't back down. She didn't retreat. She saw it to the very end. Chela was found guilty, sent to prison, and that's what happens, guys. It's not patty cake, bacon man. Now, let's be clear. It's not tiptoeing through the tulips. Okay? It's not sunshine and rainbows. When they take you to court and you stand in that dock in front of that judge and you're looking down the barrel of a sentence, a 2-3 year sentence, all of a sudden becomes real. So now, here it is. There's a component of this case that has just recently come out that I really want to hone in on. Apparently, this boy, Elias Musiani's lawyer, asked Yomaps a question. It was a curveball question, a question that just served to derail the case and to bring this couple into public disrepute. That's all it is. Now let's be clear. If you listen to the conversation, the recorded telephone conversation between this boy Elias Musiani, Kiddist, and Yomaps, if you listen to that conversation, had there been anything between Kiddist and this Elias, given Elias's character and the way he is, he's the type of person that not only will he insult you, but he'll just bring out something that is designed to hurt you. Had this new story, this rumor, which really is just a falsity, it's just a fabrication, had this story of Kiddist and Elias having some type of intimate interaction, had it been true, that fact would have come out during that conversation. Tell me if that makes sense. Sorry. Tell me in the comments if that makes sense. Let me say that again because I think that's very important. This new false fabricated story that Kiddist had something to do with Elias, had that been true, given Elias's character, given the way he talks, the things that he said, that would have come out in the conversation between Elias, Kiddist, and Yomaps. But it didn't, because it didn't exist. So what Elias's lawyers are trying to do is they're trying to sling mud on Kiddist's marriage. They're trying to taint their marriage, but they don't understand that fabricated question won't derail the case. The case is not about whether or not Kiddist had some type of thing with Elias, which is not true. I don't believe that, because the way I know young men, those things, they come out just there and then. They come out. He would have said it in that conversation, but he didn't. Why? Because it's not there. It's not true. It didn't happen. Now they're in court. Kiddist's, Elias's lawyers are trying to throw a spanner in the works by trying or attempting to defame or blemish Kiddist's marriage by asking the question, what if I told you that Elias and Kiddist had a relationship? Boza, lies. But let me tell you, those questions are not going to derail this case. The case is clear. The case is crystal. When the dust settles and when the dew dries, I mean, the evidence is there. There's no ambiguity here. There's no doubt. This young man, Elias, he posted those things. He threatened Kiddist. He threatened to rape her. He threatened his Kiddist's child online. Then he apologized. I was sorry. No, man. When the dust settles and the dew dries, wazakulonga iwe uyenda iwe ulefwaya nanguta ulefwaya ichebo kukakwa wamulonga uja aenda uja afuna siyafuna aenda uja. All right, thought I'd share that with you guys. I gotta go home. Thanks for watching. God bless. Bye.